Hello and welcome to the Elephant Lounge. I'm your host Tuesday, and I want to thank you so much for joining me. And we are back for the second episode of Why Are They Guilty? Now, in the first episode, I talked to you about propaganda, and I gave you some of the characteristics and elements of propaganda and how to sort of deal with this material. And in this episode, I will be presenting to you a piece of propaganda, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the elements of it. What are some of the things that they use? What are some things to look out for? What are some questions that we need to ask? So they will tell you something. The one thing you want to keep in mind is listen to what they tell you and then try and think of the things that they're not telling you. And as I said, I will stop and basically provide some feedback and make some notes for you. I have to say this is going to be long, so I apologize, but there's a lot of stuff that I want to say. I have already done a rehearsal of this, so I've already viewed this prior. There's a lot of things that we need to discuss, and I think it'll be very helpful. And I hope to kill two birds with one stone, meaning the main focus of this series will be just to talk about propaganda in general. These will be things that apply to all forms of propaganda, whatever true crime we're talking about. So these will be elements and ideas that you can transfer onto other true crime cases. And then the secondary benefit to this will be the fact that we're talking about the Michael Jackson case, because this pertains to Michael Jackson, and that's something that I've been talking about for quite some time. So hopefully you will find this interesting and engaging, and we will go ahead and get started. So this is a piece called Lies of Leaving Neverland, and this was incidentally posted on one of my podcasts by a Michael Jackson supporter because I guess they assumed that this was going to convince me. Interestingly enough, this is exactly the sort of material that I'm talking about. This particular piece of propaganda is very sophomoric. I would call it Propaganda 101. They use very common elements of propaganda, meaning it's not a very clever piece of propaganda. To the unsophisticated viewer or somebody who's not used to understanding or recognizing the elements of propaganda, I can see where somebody would be very much sucked into this form of communication, as it were. I can see where somebody would be influenced by material such as this. So we are going to go ahead and get started.
We were looking at Exhibit 579. The statement that you wrote was, Michael Jackson changed the world, and more personally, my life forever. He is the reason I dance, the reason I make music, and one of the main reasons I believe in the pure goodness of humankind. He has been a close friend of mine for 20 years. His music, his movement, his personal words of inspiration and encouragement, and his unconditional love will live inside of me forever. I will miss him immeasurably, but I know that he is now at peace and enchanting the heavens with a melody and a moonwalk. I love you, Michael. Is that right?
That's what I wrote, yeah.
Okay, so right away we have Michael Jackson, footage of him looking very healthy and robust. This is obviously during his prime when his nose didn't fall off, or he had to wear a mask because his nose. But obviously he's looking very happy and very successful. And then you have this juxtaposed against Wade, who is at a very uncomfortable time during his deposition, where he's forced to having to admit that he lied. He lied about Michael Jackson and who he was. In the past, he had praised Michael Jackson, and now, of course, he's talking about the abuse that he endured. As we go on here, we'll see another bit of imagery here. We have the Leaving Neverland in the original font, and then it looks as though someone came along and scrawled lies on top of that, and red. I mean, it's almost symbolic of blood. And then in the background, we have an image of Wade, and he's holding his hand up like that. Well, why would you be doing that? It's because you're swearing in to tell the truth. There's a bit of imagery here. They're trying to obviously make the statement that, oh, here he is. He says he's going to tell the truth, but these are actually lies. We just want to keep in mind, at this point, I'm not going to call this propaganda because because, look, we don't know. If this is really going to expose lies, then it could be a very valuable piece of information for us. This is kind of a clue that perhaps there might be a little bit of some drama going on. And we see that because of the imagery here. And again, they already did that imagery at the very beginning, the very first scene of showing Michael at his prime and then Wade in a very vulnerable state.
Wade Robson, who met Michael Jackson when he was 5 years old after winning a dance contest in Australia. For decades, he never missed a chance to refer to himself as a close friend of the pop star, someone who was his mentor and largely responsible for Robson's successful career as a dancer, choreographer, and stage director. In this 2016 deposition, never before seen publicly, Robson talks about that glowing tribute he wrote to his longtime friend, Michael Jackson, in the days after the pop superstar died.
I love you, Michael.
So I'll just pause it right here because I want to make some notations here. We have the music. Okay, that music is not necessary, especially the type of low vibrational tones, sort of a suspense. And then you have the descriptions of the two men. One is this mentor, and he's great, and he's responsible for Wade's career. And then the other is just sort of this fan, and he sort of clung on to Michael Jackson. So we sort of have these descriptions. But again, let's give it a few minutes and see what's going on. We're back to some footage from the deposition. Obviously, we're going to get back to them confronting him about his praise of Michael Jackson. So let's see how this goes.
Is that right?
That's what I wrote, yeah.
But now Wade Robson is singing a different tune. He and another proven liar, James Safechuck, claim they were sexually abused by Michael Jackson as young boys in a one-sided so-called documentary called Leaving Neverland.
Okay, so right away we have a couple talking points here, and these are the talking points that are very indicative of the Michael Jackson fan base. We have them calling James Safechuck a proven liar. They have not proven him a liar, so this is what they're not telling you. They're not telling you what he's lied about or where it's been proven that he's a liar. Will they? Maybe. We'll go ahead and keep that in mind. That's what I'm talking about. Listen to what they tell you, and then think about what they're not telling you. The other thing they're talking about is the one-sided documentary. And of course, this is another popular talking point because what they're trying to say is they're trying to make the documentary Leaving Neverland what they wanted to say. And the fact of the matter is Leaving Neverland was about the grooming. It was about the grooming of the family and what they went through and their experience. That's the main focus of the documentary. The idea that it's one-sided, certainly that would be a subjective inference, and I can certainly understand that. At the same time, there's a little bit of a deception going on there. It really depends on how you're looking at it. If you really are objective, you recognize that the documentary is focused on the grooming of these young boys and their families and what their experience was as far as their interaction with Michael Jackson and the abuse that they went through. So that's not really one-sided. It's their story. We'll let that slide.
Everybody wanted to meet Michael or be with Michael. And then he likes you.
Critics say Leaving Neverland only has one goal: money. Wade Robson and James Safechuck both swore under oath that Michael Jackson did nothing inappropriate to them. Then, in a failed effort to get rich, they changed their stories to seek a huge, multi-million-dollar monetary payday in lawsuits against Jackson's estate and companies. Their lawsuits against the Jackson estate have been dismissed not once, but twice. Nonetheless, they are pending on appeal, so Robson and Safechuck are still holding out hope for a big jackpot, and hope this one-sided hit piece leads them to their pot of gold.
If there's a
Okay, so this is interesting. So we have some imagery, we have some money, we have the talking point of them. They want money. That's what they're doing this for. They show a little imagery of James and Wade sort of laughing. We have no context of what they're laughing about, but the insinuation is that they're laughing because they're laughing all the way to the bank or something along those lines. And their lawsuits were dismissed. Well, they tell us that their lawsuits were dismissed, but they didn't say why. The lawsuits were dismissed because of the statute of limitations. That's hardly the suggestion that they seem to be making here, which is that the lawsuits were somehow thrown out because of the merits. And that's simply not true. Of course, we have the imagery of the money. They've told us that they are doing this for money, that somehow this is going to be a big payday for them. That's what they told us. It's not really an efficient way to get money, is to go through a lawsuit, to humiliate yourself, to tell the world you were abused by somebody. I mean, I guess, but we'll wait and see what they have to say. I mean, are they going to explain to us why they think this is their motive? Are they going to offer us any evidence? Obviously, the answer is no. But, these are the kinds of things you want to keep in mind when you're watching something like this. And I would say at this point, we can safely say that this is indeed propaganda, because they're saying a lot of things, but they're not really explaining anything. So let's go ahead and continue.
Potential financial payout of hundreds of millions of dollars. There is an incentive.
That litigation over the last 5 years or so has generated many, many hundreds of pages of legal documents in the form of sworn declarations, deposition transcripts, motions, judgments, etc. And anybody who's been following the case and following those documents as they're published will be aware that there are significant problems with these guys' stories. One of them was caught committing perjury in his creditor's claim. So we knew before the film came out that the two protagonists on whose stories it was based had credibility issues.
Okay, so we have this voiceover from some reporter, and then they showed this imagery from all these other reporters. I guess the idea is to get the audience to believe that none of these reporters believe Wade or James. They make the accusation that they were caught lying to the court. Will they get into this? I don't know. Again, just very bizarre. Let's go on. Let's continue.
Skeptical media throughout the world are questioning director Dan Reed's agenda in making the film. They see through the litany of one-sided accusations from two known liars who repeatedly spin a salacious drumbeat of alleged sexual abuse.
Okay, I like this one. This is something that is very common. Now, this is 101 propaganda. They pull out these headlines and they say these are skeptic media or questioning, whatever line that was, I apologize. But let's see, we got Daily Wire. I like Daily Wire. I don't have a problem with them. But they're hardly any type of, I don't want to say that they're not credible, but they're not popular, okay? And you have Showbiz 411. I mean, what is that, a blog? Express. And then it looks like we got Hollywood Insider up there. I think that's what it was. Michael Jackson exonerated. Second sex abuse claim by Jimmy Safechuck dismissed by court because of the statute of limitations. What's this other one? Leaving Neverland's director attempt to spin. I don't know what that word is. Discrepancy appears to backfire. Report. Leaving Neverland discrepancy found in key part of film denouncing Michael Jackson. Okay, so we gotta see what this discrepancy is. This is gonna be good, I'm sure.
Offering not one shred of evidence or independent corroboration to support their stories.
Okay, so here we go. We're done. As far as this is a total lie. Absolutely a total lie. Wade and James, did these people even watch Leaving Neverland? There were recordings of Michael Jackson, both video and audio, that James and Wade provided, pictures. We know that these two were very close with Michael Jackson. We know that they slept alone in bed with Michael Jackson. We have independent witnesses that testified. We have maids that stated they saw inappropriate behavior with Michael and Wade, and Michael Michael and James. These are things that are indeed corroborated. We also have the families, the mothers. There's a lot of information, and anyone that has been following this case for as long as I've been following it knows that there's plenty of evidence and information that corroborate their story. So this is just flat out lie. It's not even something that could be considered